international law. It's a tragedy to break a nation by attacking its most vulnerable with a genocidal aim of erasing their national identity. Estonia remains committed to work with partners to ensure the safe return of children to Ukraine. We reaffirm our support for the International Criminal Court in ensuring accountability for all violations and war crimes committed by Russia's authorities. In this regard, the work of the Commission of Inquiry on Ukraine remains vital. This month, Estonian Parliament became the first to approve the Council of Europe's agreement establishing the Special Tribunal for the crime of aggression against Ukraine. We encourage other states to follow. The perpetrators must not go unpunished, and this should be our shared international understanding. Thus, we welcome the Council's attention to many deeply concerning human rights situations, including in Afghanistan, Belarus, DPRK, Iran, Palestine, especially in Gaza, Russia, Sudan, Syria. Vice President, as a digitally highly advanced society, building a digital space grounded in democracy, rule of law and human rights is Estonian central priority. Artificial intelligence offers great opportunities, but also brings risks. Disinformation, amplified by AI, is a prime example, but not only. Last year, we saw an escalated AI threat, malware to attack our mobile systems, water supply, electricity, heating, transport. Malware not just created with AI, but also powered by AI to carry out cyber attacks. Ukraine was among the first to face this new kind of attack against humanity. When the Russian military-linked group APT-28 deployed its AI-enabled malware against another nation. The Human Rights Council must help shape global standards to ensure safe and fair AI. We acknowledge the joint statement by Child Rights Committee and 14 UN agencies on AI and the rights of the child, dedicated to ensure that AI is designed, developed and used in line with children's rights. But we need to do more for human rights protection, and Estonia as a digital nation is ready to cooperate at all levels. And we stand for truth. At a time when truth is being eroded by disinformation amplified by AI and censorship also amplified by AI, I wish to highlight the essential role of journalists, media workers, civil society and the human rights defenders. We should do more to counter digital threats posed to them. Hard-won progress on human rights of women and girls is eroding. Estonia remains strongly committed to protect and promote rights of women and girls, including sexual and reproductive health and rights. Vice President, let me reaffirm that Estonia is committed to a strong multilateral human rights system with multi-stakeholder approach. Thus, Estonia stands for sustainable and adequate financing of the UN human rights pillar and is committed to contribute. We see that 2 decades after its establishment, the Council remains more relevant than ever, with important tasks to ensure intrinsic link between human rights, peace, security and development. This is why Estonia is proud to be a member for the next 3 years of this very important Council. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, I have the honor to give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Fuad Mohammed Hussein, Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Iraq, by video message.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Sa'adat Sayyid Siddhartha.
On behalf of God, the Merciful, the Compassionate, Mr. President of the Human Rights Council, High Commissioner for Human Rights, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, may the peace of God and His blessing be upon you. On behalf of the Government of the Republic of Iraq, it is an honor for me to commend you, President, on your accession at the helm of the Human Rights Council. And I wish you every success in steering the Council's work. I wish to assure you of our full support. Mr. President, I'm very pleased to participate in this high-level segment today at this 61st session of the Council. I wish to restate our commitment to human rights and also constructive cooperation with the United Nations. Our accession to the Human Rights Council as a member is a responsibility and also an honor. Last year, we experienced a crucial democratic phase following parliamentary elections, which were held on the 11th of January 2025. That timeline enabled the Iraqi population to elect its representatives. The elections were organized in line with approved legal standards in full transparency, with oversight from the United Nations, the European Union, the League of Arab States, and there was a significant turnout at those elections. Mr. President, for 2 decades, Iraq has been undergoing political change, as well as economic and significant security changes. This has been reflected in our national stability and our regional influence. We are moving forward steadily towards stability and sustainable development. Thus, the improvement of the security situation has allowed for the return of almost 5 million IDPs to their places of origin following the defeat of the terrorist organization Daesh. Iraq would like to underscore the important and responsible role it has played to ensure the return of its citizens who were in the Dal-Hol camp in the northeast of Syria. Over 23,000 of our citizens have benefited from an orderly and safe return. This is a highly complex international issue in humanitarian and security terms. Mr. President, the Iraqi experience stems from our faith in a pluralist society. Our national and religious components enjoy full liberty. They choose their representatives and local and national legislative timeframes and exercise traditional and religious rituals freely. Our regime is a constitutional, democratic and federal one. Federal institutions are evolving And there is irreproachable interaction between the federal government in Baghdad, the government in the Kurdistan and Erbil, and also the governments in the various Iraqi governorates. Iraq is continuing its role to combat terrorism, and we have very close cooperation with our regional and national partners. And once again, we call upon the international community to shoulder its legal and moral responsibilities. And we would call the states across the world to recover their citizens who've been involved in terrorist acts so that they be tried in their countries of origin. We have always been in favor of the Palestinian cause and the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination. We would support a ceasefire in Gaza, and we would call for the provision of humanitarian aid for Palestinian inhabitants in Gaza. President, the world, and our region in particular, are experiencing a dangerous time when wars are breaking out, armed conflicts, crises, and international challenges. In the light of that situation, it is vital to work together on the multilateral front to maintain the achievements made by the UN over the past 8 decades. That is to ensure that international law is respected, work towards de-escalation, and ensure that dialogue is prioritized and a peaceful dialogue. Thank you very much indeed for your attention.
Thank you. Next, I have the honor to give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Bruno Rodriguez Parrilla, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Cuba.
Señora Vicepresidenta.
Madam Vice President, a new dictatorship has emerged in the globalized world. The order resulting from the Second World War to avoid a third war is being destroyed, and the philosophy of dispossession is being proclaimed as the exceptional and supreme right of the United States of America to conquer, and the use of force as an imminent, natural, and customary behavior. Above and beyond ideologies, all nation-states are at risk, regardless of their cultural or political models. The first world reserve of hydrocarbons in Venezuela was vilely attacked. What will happen to the critical minerals, rare earths, and water reserves? What will happen to the Amazon, the seabed, the Arctic and the Antarctic, the occupation of enclaves which are allegedly strategic, the interoceanic passages, and trade routes? Opportunism and weakness will only encourage conquest. How would freedom of trade and navigation look like with the use of tariffs as an instrument of aggression and the extraterritorial implementation of laws and the jurisdiction of the U.S. judicial courts? The executive order of the 29th of January last, issued by the President of the United States, declares collective punishment against the Cuban people and intends to create a humanitarian catastrophe through a siege on fuels. Would it be possible to allow a large power to destroy a small nation of peace, create a humanitarian tragedy, destroy its national culture, subject a noble and fraternal people to genocide with the pretext of national security or the alleged support to the Cuban citizens. The Cuban people will defend with utmost vigour and courage, in close unity and with broad consensus, their right to self-determination, independence, sovereignty, territorial integrity, and constitutional order. And we will do this with the support of Cubans residing in other parts of the world. We will prevent a humanitarian crisis in Cuba. Although we will have to endure deprivation and hardships, we are a people that are brave, educated, and well aware. With highly qualified people and powerful and universal systems of education, health, and science, we have arable lands, water, mineral reserves, and infrastructure. We produce almost half of the oil that we consume. We have refining capacity, and we are making progress in a significant and efficient investment in renewable energy. 3 generations of Cubans, through hardship, have overcome the US blockade for over 60 years. We have stood in solidarity with all countries, in particular with nations of the South. Even in the worst-case scenario, we shall persist, and we shall find creative solutions. Against all odds, we will mitigate the humanitarian damage. We will stand in solidarity. We will also be willing to engage in a dialogue with the United States based on equal sovereignty and international law. Mutual respect, reciprocal benefit, without any preconditions or interference in domestic affairs, to achieve civilized relations within our differences. And we will even promote cooperation in areas where it is possible. Our commitment to the defense and promotion of all human rights for all human beings is growing stronger. We will continue to defend the inalienable right of the Palestinian people and the integrity of migrants. We admire the people of Minnesota in their community resistance. We will oppose double standards and political manipulation. In the year marking the centenary of the commander-in-chief of the Cuban Revolution, Fidel Castro Ruz, our determination to defend the country is absolute, and the determination to safeguard a society focused on achieving the full dignity of human beings and the maximum possible justice is irrevocable. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I have now honor to give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Ararat Mirzoyan, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Armenia.
Honorable Chair, Excellencies, let me first extend my heartfelt congratulations to the President and the members of the Bureau of the Human Rights Council on the election. I would also like to take this opportunity to convey appreciation to the High Commissioner for Human Rights and his office. For Armenia, our vision and intentions are unequivocally premised on the conviction that the human rights pillar of the United Nations must be further strengthened and adequately resourced to ensure prevention, accountability, and non-recurrence of violations and abuses of international human rights and humanitarian law. Mounting conflicts and humanitarian emergencies, as well as systemic inequality and their irreversible global impact, warrant nothing less. Armenia stands ready to ensure that the ongoing UNHRC initiative and the forthcoming review process of the Human Rights Council will serve as an important opportunity for honest reflection and concrete action to strengthen the Human Rights Council and its mechanisms as cornerstones of the UN human rights architecture. Dear colleagues, like many other democracies these days, our society is also facing a huge wave of hybrid threats, including disinformation, manipulation and foreign interference. Those are targeted, systemic, hostile campaigns designed to achieve specific goals, including undermining trust of our citizens in democratic institutions and the effective enjoyment of human rights. Confronting these challenges has become a daily activity through continuous strengthening of the democratic resilience. Years of sound reforms, higher levels of rule of law and human rights-based policies, as well as transparent and accountable institutions have produced tangible development outcomes, also reflected in internationally recognized indices. In the Freedom in the World 2025 report of Freedom House, Armenia received 54 out of 100, with significant scores for political rights and civil liberties. Quite remarkably, in 2025, Armenia ranked 34th on the Reporters Without Borders World Press Freedom Index, marking a significant improvement from 43rd place of the previous year. According to the World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Report 2025, Armenia ranks among the top countries in women's educational attainment and has seen steady increases in women's representation in all spheres of political life. In line with Armenia's commitment to consolidating implementation of its human rights obligations, last year Armenia established its national mechanism on implementation, reporting and follow-up, and launched its supportive digital tool, the Armenia's Institutional Network for Monitoring and Reporting, AI-NEMRA, which serves as a centralized system bringing together recommendations issued by international and regional human rights mechanisms. Armenia's engagement, however, is not confined to domestic implementation. We seek to contribute substantively to the strengthening of global safeguards against the gravest violations of international law. In this context, at the present session of the Human Rights Council, Armenia will once again table the resolution on the prevention of genocide. The progressive development of this resolution has reflected emerging challenges at the intersection of international human rights law, international humanitarian law, and international criminal law, and has consolidated international consensus on the means to address them. Support by all member states to this important resolution will be much needed signal of our shared obligation to end the scourge of genocide. Excellencies, after decades of violent conflict and humanitarian emergencies, Armenia, together with Azerbaijan, took decisive actions towards establishing long-term peace in our region. Last year's Peace Summit in Washington not only established peace between the two countries, but also paved the way for trade, connectivity, and people-to-people contacts. To take this path beyond the agreements between governments, we are also planting seeds of genuine dialogue and trust between our societies, including affected populations. Though the painful humanitarian consequences of the conflict are still to be resolved and the wounds of the distant and recent past linger on, we have chosen the difficult path of reconciliation. This is indeed a difficult endeavour, with 19 Armenian detainees still being held in Baku, and need for clarification of the fates of missing persons and cases of enforced disappearances, and amid dissemination of distorted historical narratives. Nevertheless, Armenia remains firmly committed to pursuing this path to its future-oriented conclusion with the understanding that further institutionalization of peace will foster a more conducive environment for addressing the consequences of the conflict. Honourable Chair, in conclusion, I would like to underline that despite the immense pressure on multilateral institutions, we should remain and raise voices of principled optimism and express our strong conviction that the human rights system and the United Nations as a whole will emerge from this process with reinvigorated capacities to fulfil their global mandate. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, I have the honor to give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Ronald Ozi Lamola, Minister of International Relations and Cooperation of South Africa.
Madam Vice President, Excellencies and distinguished delegates, it is a pleasure for me to address this high-level segment of the 61st session of the Human Rights Council. I bring you warm greetings from the government and the people of South Africa. We are honored by the renewed trust that member states placed in South Africa through its re-election to the Council, whose 20th anniversary we mark this year. We are concerned about the attack on multilateralism, the unpredictable geopolitical dynamics, and the erosion of the rules-based international order. In this complex environment, South Africa remains firmly committed to a constructive dialogue and the defense of universal core values. Madam Vice President, as the year 2026 marks the 25th anniversary of the Durban Declaration and the Programme of Action, we embrace this moment not only as a commemoration, but as a renewed call to action. In 2025, the African Union member states reviewed the progress towards the attainment of a long overdue justice and reparations following decades of colonialism, apartheid, slavery, the slave trade, and the transatlantic slave trade. We remain seized with this matter. Building on our successful presidency of the G20 in 2025, we continue to advance the priorities of the Global South. Notable, the implementation of the recommendations of the report of the G20 Extraordinary Committee on Global Inequality. We are working with our international partners towards launching the International Panel on Inequality. Madam Vice President, the world is currently experiencing a concerning rise of extreme poverty. Poverty is both a cause and consequence of violence of economic, social, and cultural rights, and it has gendered face that is a face of women and girls. In order to mitigate this troubling trend, South Africa will use its current membership of the Council to advance and heighten our efforts to promote and protect the enjoyment of the economic, social, and cultural rights. We will use our membership to combat all forms of discrimination, including the scourge of racism, racial discrimination, and to advance women's empowerment and gender equality, the rights of persons with disabilities, sexual orientation, gender identity and expression, and the rights of the child. We will continue our efforts to advance the elaboration of legal binding instruments on private military and security companies and on transnational corporations and other business enterprises. For us, it remains of critical importance that accountability measures and effective remedies should be in place whenever or wherever these entities violate or abuse human rights. The current gap should be filled. We reaffirm the importance of inclusiveness and the important role of civil society in the work of the Council and broader global efforts at promoting and protecting human rights. We remain concerned about the continuing shrinking civil space across the globe. We reiterate the intrinsic link between human rights, development, and peace and security. This nexus underpins South Africa's approach and involvement in conflict resolutions across the globe and our continent. This includes our call in Sudan, more especially given the genocide as highlighted by the fact-finding mission and the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, together with South Sudan as part of advancing the Agenda 2063, the Africa's agenda of silencing the guns, the Africa we want. South Africa reiterates our unwavering support and solidarity with the Palestinian people. We remain steadfast in advocating for their self-determination and that of the Sahrawi people. We call on all member states to recognize the Palestinian statehood and act in solidarity with its people. We continue to appeal for an end to Israel's unlawful occupation, an end to the ongoing genocide, together with efforts to a permanent displacement of the Palestinian people in Gaza and the West Bank. Madam Vice President, as I conclude, South Africa is concerned about the attacks on special procedures, mandate holders in general, and Ms. Francesca Albanese, the special rapporteur on occupied Palestinian territory. In particular, the special procedures mandate holders play a key role in promoting and protecting human rights, and they must be protected by all member states. We must recognize that understanding is a precursor to peace. Let us not bequeath a legacy of prejudice and hatred to our children. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, I have the honor to give the floor to His Excellency Mr. Alberto van Claveren Storck, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Chile, by video message.
It is an honor for me to address you on behalf of the Chilean government and behalf of President Gabriel Boric. I regret that I have not been able to be with you in person today. However, I'd like to convey very clearly the importance that Chile attaches to the Human Rights Council and its mandate as a specific expression of our belief in the universal value of fundamental rights and international law. For the fifth time, Chile is taking up its membership in this council with a renewed sense of responsibility. And we are doing this mindful of the fact that 2026 will be marked by profound tension and growing pressure on multilateral institutions. It is precisely for this reason that we believe the response cannot be retreat or inertia, but rather more cooperation, multilateralism that can provide results, and defense which is consistent with the principles underpinning international coexistence. Almost 80 years on from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it is particularly important to recall the contribution of the Chilean diplomat Hernán Santa Cruz. He took an active part in that process. Santa Cruz entitled his memoirs, "Cooperate or Perish," and that sentence is not a rhetoric resource. It summarizes an historic experience and a valid warning. When states choose cooperation over rivalry, pathways are opened to affirm common standards, protect persons, and prevent the deterioration of peace. When that effort no longer takes place, those whose rights are threatened or violated pay the price first. The Human Rights Council must continue to be a space which acts seriously, consistently, and with a sense of urgency. And to do this, it is vital to strengthen its efficiency, avoid an overlap of initiatives, focus energies on mechanisms which provide timely and verifiable results, and ensure meaningful participation of civil society and human rights defenders. Their work is crucial to maintain this system and ensure that it is in step with reality. This goal also means that we need to take an honest look at material conditions which ensure that multilateral work can take place. The current budgetary situation of the United Nations and its human rights architecture is not an administrative issue. It affects the ability to prevent, monitor, provide technical assistance, and, in short, the effective protection of people. Strengthening the human rights pillar means that we must ensure it has resources and tools in step with the expectations that the international community places in it. Chile is beginning this new period. We are very willing to listen, to build agreements, and to work for a more effective council and to be closer to those who require our actions. It is along that spirit that we reassert our commitment to international cooperation and multilateralism that complies and fulfills its promise. Protect all persons without exceptions. We wish you a fruitful and constructive session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next, I have the honor to give the floor to Her Excellency Ms. Princess Kazune, Minister of Justice of Zambia.
Madam Vice President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, we meet at a time when the global human rights system is under extreme pressure. Some question its fairness and values, while others suggest we step away from it. But Zambia believes that stepping away is not the answer. Rather, the times require that to enhance international cooperation to help overcome the challenges we are facing. It is true that we are stronger if we stand united than if we separate. We understand that no system is perfect, but instead of tearing down a system that has been many years in the making, we would seek to improve what is not working and by all means try to protect what has worked in defense of human dignity. Zambia remains firmly committed to working together with all nations to protect human rights, and we reaffirm the mandate of the Council. Therefore, we must continue to engage openly with the Universal Periodic Review, which we consider to be a useful process that helps us reflect and improve the human rights of our people. We also welcome engagement with special rapporteurs. Last year, Zambia received 2 country visits, and the report of the last visit will be presented during this session. We see these visits as an opportunity to strengthen our institutions and improve the protection of our people. Excellencies, Zambia is a democratic country guided by the rule of law. In August this year, we will hold our general elections. We are committed to ensuring that these elections are peaceful, transparent, and credible. There cannot be meaningful development without good leadership in a peaceful environment. We firmly believe that human rights and development go hand in hand. Excellencies, Zambia